Hi, my name is Miss Alyssa Huckaby,
And I'm Miss Kayla Scott,
and we're Ball State students, and we're a part of the English Ed program.
and we'd like to talk to you about how to write in formal and informal voice.
So to open the lesson up today, we just have a few simple definitions. And the first definition that we have for you guys is voice. So this is your distinct point of view within a piece of writing, and that can be a piece of writing within school or without school. It is also the way that your personality shines through within your own writing. It basically just sets your writing apart from other people's writing. Next, we have formal voice, and this is a lot more professional and academic versus how you talk day to day and with your friends, with your family members. It's a lot more refined than informal voice, so you won't hear slang and you won't hear definitions and terms that you normally would speak with. And this is typically not as personal as informal voice, so you really won't get an entire sense of who you are by using formal voice within writing. The next definition that we have is informal voice, and this is where your personality is able to shine through easily. This is a lot more casual, it's a lot more conversational, and it's also colloquial. So this means that you can use slang and you can use terms and definitions that you would use day to day. This can also include using things that you would use in media. So that would be like digitalk, like texting language, things like that.
So why does all of this matter? Well, voice is the key to creating a piece that's original, and it represents who you are and what you know. And it's a bridge between you and what you're writing. So this is how we know that it's you that's writing this and that you're the author and that it's your piece. It's also important understanding the why here and why now of writing. So what's the point? What's the purpose of what you're saying? And what does it mean to you? So this is what also brings you to the page to write. This is what gives you purpose as an author in writing your piece. And voice also affects your overall writing. So this is what makes the piece sound like it's you, or sound more like the academic you, or the informal you.
So before we head into the actual lesson where we share examples with you guys, we have a few quick examples to share, and you guys are going to take some time from the video with Mrs. Bailey and answer these as a class. And then we'll ultimately give you the results throughout the entire slide. So the first example is if you are writing a research paper over a current event for your social studies class, what type of voice do you think you would use? This is where Mrs. Bailey can pause the video and you guys can discuss this and come up with an answer. Now that you guys have come up with a class answer, we will give you the first answer. And this first answer is that this piece would be considered formal voice. This is the correct answer because within a research paper, information is being written about and given to the audience in order to gain knowledge and insight on that information. This means that the writer of the research paper is not the focus necessarily. The second example that we have for you guys is if you are writing a personal narrative for your English language arts class, what type of voice do you think you would use? This is now the time where Mrs. Bailey can pause this and you can again discuss this as a class. Now that you guys have had some time to discuss the second one, the answer is that this would be an informal voice use. This is the correct answer because within a personal narrative, the audience is reading in order to gain knowledge on you and the person that you are. Informal voice is encouraged over formal voice for pieces such as this in order to share more of your true and unique self. The third example for today, and this one will be the final one, is if you are in the midst of writing a short fiction piece for an English project, what type of voice do you think you would use? For the last time, Mrs. Bailey can pause this video and you guys can come up with your final answer. Now the final answer is kind of tricky. This answer is a toss-up. In this situation, it truly relies on the narrator of the story, the characters, and what the story is. Fiction is one of those genres where you get to choose, but it is always an option to involve both types of voice.
Okay, and here are a couple mentor texts that we have for you guys to show formal and informal voice. So the first section is formal, and we have a few excerpts from the beginning of The Absolute True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie. And these are a few book reviews written by US Today and the School Library Journal on their professional opinions on what they thought about Sherman Alexie's book. The reason that these are formal voice is because they come from scholarly and credible sources that are more professional. These are people who are paid to write, and they have to sound more academic, and you can't really get a specific individualistic feel of who this person is. There's not that personal voice or the personal pronouns, so you couldn't listen to it and go, oh, this is so-and-so. Like, you just know who it is. This is more professional and academic. At the bottom, we have a New York Times article about Sherman Alexie, written by Jess Rowe. And the reason that this is more formal is because this isn't normally how she would talk in person. This isn't very conversational. Rowe's audience here is a little bit different than just your best friends at a table, or this is probably not something she would text to her friends. But the reason that this is formal is because it's meant for a more formal audience. This is meant to inform and to educate about Sherman Alexie and give some background information. It also has research that's involved in it. So here she's explaining a lot about Sherman Alexie after talking with him and having an interview with him, but then sits down to write this in a more formal, complete setting. Here are our excerpts that show a more informal writing. We have another page from The Absolute True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie, and this is the narrator's drawing of the grandmother. And we just wanted to show how Sherman Alexie uses his main character, Junior, as the narrator of this book for both informal and formal writing. This is a technique that enables the book to be more of an informal voice. This specific example from the text shows a more individualistic way to use informal voice within a complete work, such as a novel. So here, it's a drawing, and it has tiny descriptions of his grandmother on a piece of paper, and you can tell that this is the narrator's voice because it's short little excerpts that have personal pronouns in them, and it sounds more conversational. At the bottom, we have a tweet from Sherman Alexie about the movie Smoke Signals. And this here is just informal because it is a tweet. It's more conversational and casual. This isn't something that you would publish in a New York Times magazine or something more academic. So these examples of informal voice show the brevity of informal voice as well as the conversational aspect of them. And these texts aren't meant to go out to an academic voice.
Okay, so something that we created for you guys is a new visual scaffold that you can use in the classroom or individually. And this just kind of helps you put informal and formal voices with kind of a picture in your head. So we came up with the idea of different hats while you're writing. And this is just to give you a quick idea of how informal and formal voices can work for you. The hats are basically equivalent to which formal or informal voice is being used within writing. So one of the first hats on the left-hand column for formal voice is the dressy hat with a feather, and this could represent a formal hat to wear when writing a speech for your English class or making an argument for your social studies class. It's just something that you can pair with an example quickly. It also works as a running list within your classroom. Mrs. Bailey could hang this up. She could print it out for you guys to reuse. It's something that is just meant to be quick and informal, and you can just put examples, you can put different types of writing, and you can keep it so when you're writing something different for the first time, this could really be a big help to you.
So we have a little practice for you guys. And here with this exercise, you guys are going to show your knowledge in informal and formal voice by categorizing the types of writing. Here you'll see on your practice sheet that the list of types of writing is in the middle. Then there's a cloud for informal voice and a cloud for formal voice. We're asking that you put them in the correct categories, whether it's a formal or informal voice. And then along with that, we'd like you to write a little blurb about why you believe that it belongs underneath either the formal or informal cloud.
Now that we've taken you guys through the lesson and we've given you some examples from Sherman Alexi's book, it's now time for you to demonstrate your knowledge on all of this stuff that you've learned today. So now Mrs. Bailey can pause the video and leave it open so you guys can use it for reference while doing the worksheet. We hope that you enjoyed your time learning about informal and formal voice, and we hope that you guys do well with the rest of your writing.